All right. So today, please make sure we're numbering this number 3. Number 3. So number 1 was simplifying expressions. That will be on our test Friday. Number 2 was solving equations. That will be on our test Friday. This week, for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're going to talk about inequalities for a little bit. Thursday, we'll review our equation information plus our inequalities, and then Friday we'll have a test. Okay, so please remember the first test of this new 9 weeks is on Friday of this week, okay? So we'll finish up algebra this week. Next week we start geometry, all right? Writing inequalities. So guys, we've talked about inequalities earlier during the year. Those are those symbols that we use to compare numbers. So our less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than or equal to. All right, so let's kind of go through those. I'm going to write all of my symbols up at the top. Please make sure you write it down with me. All right, so my first symbol. Does anyone remember what that symbol is called? Okay. Close. What direction is that arrow pointing right now? Which direction is that arrow pointing? Cameron? Less than. My arrow is pointing to the left, which means this is less. So this symbol is less than. This symbol is less than. So this is pointing to the left, which means the symbol is less than. All right? Remember we also had that trick, a capital L? A capital L looks like that, right? This symbol is basically a capital L, but turned sideways. It points to the left, so it's less. Okay? So this symbol, what direction is that arrow pointing? If I think of it as an arrow, which direction is that pointing? Faith? It's pointing to the right, which means it's going to be great. Kind of like Tony the Tiger, if any Frosty Flake fans in here. So that's going to be my greater than. So I have less than, I have greater than. Okay, we also have some other symbols that are very similar to these. It's going to be my arrow pointing to the left, but I'm also going to have a bar underneath it. All right, so my arrow pointing to the left, but it also has a bar underneath it. So what that means to me is that it's left, so it's going to be less than. What that bar means, it means that it can be less or it can be equal. Less than or equal. All right, so we have the alternative that goes with that as well, pointing to the right with a bar, which is greater than. Or equal. All right, so we have less than, greater than, less than or equal, and then greater than or equal. Less than or equal. So what that means, guys, so if I have, someone put like a little example here. So for an example, if I have n is less than or equal to 7. If I say that n is less than or equal to 7, can someone give me some numbers that n could be? If n is less than or equal to 7, what are some numbers that n can be? Okay. 7, because it's less than or equal to. All right. Is 7 the only number that n can be? What else can n be, Faith? 5, because 5 is less than 7. What else can n be? Okay? Anything lower than 7, guys. So here's the difference. When we do equations, when we had that equal sign, x or n or l, they can only be one number, right? We would say n equals 7. The only thing n can be if it equals 7 is 7. But since this says less than or equal to 7, n can be 7, but it can also be all of the numbers smaller than 7. Okay? All right, so what we're going to practice with today, guys, we're not going to solve anything. We're not really going to do any math. We're going to take the words and we're going to make them math. We're going to write a math sentence to go with it. All right? Please remember that if I don't know something, what can I use? If I don't know an amount, what would I use? Good morning, it's Monday. If I don't know an amount, what do I use, Marisol? A letter, which is also called a variable. Okay, y'all with me all the way? We need to stand up and stretch a little bit. Okay, if you need to stand up and stretch, do it. We're going to keep going. All right. It says, a motorist drives at a speed that is more than 55 miles per hour. What is this sentence talking about? What is my sentence talking about here? Okay. A motorist and the motorist's speed. So, a motorist drives at a speed. Do I know what that speed is? No, I don't know how fast that motorist is going. So, we're going to circle that because I don't know it. It's what my sentence is about. It's what I need more information on. What would be a good variable for that? What do you want to use as your variable? Okay. We can use M because we're talking about a motorist. We could use S because we're talking about his speed. We could use D because he's driving. Okay. I like M. So it says my motorist. Now it says his speed is more than 55. Now am I wanting to add my motorist speed to 55? Am I wanting to add that? No, in this case, guys, more than doesn't mean addition. More than, we're comparing it. We're saying, hey, this speed compared to this speed, which is why we're using the inequality symbols here, not a plus sign. Okay, more than. What symbol would that need? What symbol do you think that would need from the top? Emily? Greater than. So it says the motorist drives at a speed greater than 55 miles per hour. Now, do I need to put an equal to there? Could he be driving 55 if it says more than 55?
No, that means higher.
It means higher than 55, so we're not going to put the equal to bar. So we have our motorist is greater than our 55 miles per hour. And do y'all see how it automatically sets my answer up for me? What does it say on top? M is greater than 55. And guess what, guys? That's my sentence. M is greater than 55. And since I clearly circled what my variable was, we don't have to rewrite it out. Okay, make sure you fill that in. Okay. All right, number 2. The amount of sugar is no more than 2 ounces. Again, what is the subject of this sentence? What are we talking about in this sentence? Sarah Grace? The amount of sugar. Do y'all see where we're getting that? Sarah Grace, what variable would you like to use? Okay, A. The amount of sugar is no more than 2 ounces. No more than. No more than. What symbol do we think we're going to use? Before we talk about, just what do you think? What do you think, Kate? Okay, we're going to want to use an equal to, because if it's not more than, could it be 2? Excellent. So I like what Kate just said. So what he added to that was, if it's not more than, that means it can be less than. So my arrow should point to the left. All right? It could be less than, but if it's not more than, does that also mean it could be equal to? So if it's no more than, that means it's going to be less or equal. Because the opposite of more would be less and also equal. Do y'all see why I need the bar there? Are there any questions about that? So no more than. If it's not more than 2 ounces, can it be 2 ounces? Could it be smaller than 2 ounces? Okay. So we're using less than or equal to, and then we have our 2 ounces over here. So again, it sets up my entire problem for me. So we have A is less than or equal to 2. Okay. Number 3, a child's height must be at least 42 inches. All right, what is this problem talking about? What is my subject here? Dina?
A child's height
A child's height. What variable would you like to use, Sina? H. We're talking about the height. All right, so guys, what I like to think about here is it's saying it must be at least 42 inches. So it's kind of like when you're going to the fair maybe for the first time, or if you're going to like Six Flags for the first time. When you go up to ride a ride, they're going to say, you have to be this tall. That's what's happening here. You must be at least 42 inches, and they'll have like a little stick that they hold up next to you, so you're tall enough. All right? Or that bar, to make sure you come up to the bar. So the height must be at least 42 inches. So what does that mean? Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Okay, what do you think? Less than. All right, so if I go up to ride the ride and I'm less than 42, I'm not going to be able to get on the ride because I'm going to be shorter than that stick. When it says at least, it's tempting to say less because they both start with L, isn't it? Least, less, they seem like they would go together. But if we're saying at least, that means that is the smallest. 42 inches is the smallest. So what are we going to use, Lyric?
Greater than or equal.
Greater than or equal to. Because if I hit that bar, am I going to be able to get on the ride? Yes. So greater than or equal to. So greater than points to the right or equal to. All right. So again, because it says at least, this is the smallest number. If that's the smallest number, everything else got to be greater than, or it can be equal to that. 42. All right. Guys, we're kind of going through these, working these out together. I'm telling you my reasoning through it, but this is just going to take a lot of practice on our part independently. So when I rewrite this, it says H is greater than or equal to 42. Okay. All right, number 4. A voter's age must be at least 18. So what's our topic? What are we talking about here, Cannon? Voter's what? The voter's age. What variable do you want to use, Cannon? Okay, V for voter. Must be at least 18. So again, at least. 18 means 18 is the minimum. That's the youngest. That's the smallest age that can vote. So everything else has to be what? What symbol am I going to use to describe that age? Everything else has to be what, Emily?
Less than.
All right, so think about it. If I'm saying that the voter must be 18, can it be less? You're not 18. You're less than 18. Can y'all go and vote at this next election that we have coming up?
Nope.
No? All right, your parents can because they are greater than 18, okay? So Sarah Grace, what symbol am I going to use? Greater than, pointing to the right for great. Greater than or equal to. Because if you're 18, you can go and vote. But other than that, you have to be older. You have to be greater than the age of 18. Okay? So V is greater than or equal to 18. V is greater than or equal to 18. Yes. Oh, ready for the next one. All right, next one. An athlete's weight is more than 125 pounds. Cameron, what are we talking about here?
The athlete's weight.
The athlete's weight. Cameron, what variable would you like to use? W. That works because we're talking about the weight. All right, it says the athlete's weight is more than 125 pounds. What symbol do you think we would need more than for? More than. What do you think, Adriana? What would more than be? Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to? Greater than, because it means more. Now, when we say more than, so I'm going to point to the right, because we're going great. All right, more than 125. Could it be equal to 125? No, because it says more. Is 125 more than 125? No. So we don't want to do equal to. It has to be strictly greater than 125. So there's my answer on top for me. W is greater than 125. Okay? All right, number 6. The cost of the textbook is at least $25. What are we talking about here, Brandon? All right, and what variable would you like to use? All right, we can use C. Remember, guys, if you use T for textbook, make sure it's a cursive T. All right? At least $25. At least. What are we talking about there? Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. If it's at least $25. What do you think? Annabella, what do you think? Okay, so again, that's really true because least we think less, right? Remember, if it's at least $25, so let's kind of interpret that first. If it says at least 25, that means 25 is the smallest amount, right? If 25 is the smallest amount already, can we go less than that, Annabella? No, so we don't want to use less than, we actually want to use greater than. So 25 is the smallest amount. So we need to do greater than to the right. Now, if 25 is the smallest amount, can it be 25? Yeah, so at least means it's got to be greater than 25 or equal to. Okay? At least is really tricky, and you'll see that's why we had number 3 said at least, number 4 said at least, number 6 is said at least. Again, your test is probably going to have at least one that says at least, just a heads up. So we have C is greater than or equal to 25. Because that at least means that is the smallest. So everything else has to be bigger. Okay. So let's see if we can apply that same reasoning here. So the same reasoning is applying here. It says a maximum of 18 people are allowed in the gallery at one time. Now again, guys, the first thing I'm going to ask myself is, what is this sentence talking about? What is the sentence talking about? Okay? It is a little backwards. So where do I find what the sentence is talking about, Kate? Yeah, we're wanting to know how many people are getting to go in that gallery at one time. This time my subject is actually at the end. But that's okay. So what variable would you like to use, Kate? G, because we're talking about the people in the gallery. Again, we could have used P because it's people. A because it's how many are allowed. G for gallery. I like the G for gallery the best. All right. So these are the people in the gallery. Guys, my variable's going to start us off. So if you want to go ahead and write that down here, we can. All right. It says the maximum people are 18. So the most people that can be in the gallery is 18. So my gallery, my number of people in there, is it going to be less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to? Gabriella?
Less than or equal to.
Yes! Excellent job. Less than, so it's pointing to the left, or equal to, because the maximum is 18. Can I get bigger than that?
Yes.
Maximum, that's the top. The most number, it must be like a really little gallery, okay? They can only have 18 people in there, so it has to be less than or equal to 18. We cannot go higher than that. We can't get bigger, so it has to be less. Excellent job. All right. Number 8. There are fewer than 8 fish in the aquarium. Topic, lyric, what are we talking about on number 8? The fish in the aquarium. Again, it's another one that's at the end, but that's okay. What variable would you like to use, lyric?
F.
F, because we're talking about some fish. Okay, and again, you can go ahead, guys. When that letter is at the end, I like to go ahead and write it so I don't forget. That's what we want to start with, because that's what we're talking about. All right, it says there are fewer than 8 fish in the aquarium. Fewer than. What symbol am I going to use for that? What symbol am I going to use for that? What do you think, Caleb? We got our F for fish for fewer than. Do you think that's less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to? Less than. So we're pointing to the left. So that's less than. If it says fewer than 8, is that including 8? Fewer than 8? Is 8 fewer than 8?
No.
No. So we don't want an equal to bar. We're just going to say less than 8. right, now number 9 is a little tricky. We gotta, hopefully in reading and stuff, we've been learning a lot new vocabulary this year. If not, we gotta know some context clues. We'll look at this. Number 9 says, the water level exceeds 45 inches. What subject, what topic am I talking about here? Maya? The water level. Maya, what variable would you like to use? W. Excellent. All right, so let's talk about the word exceeds. So you might have sometimes, hopefully, heard your teacher talk about how you exceeded their expectations. What does that mean if you exceed something, Kate?
It goes higher.
Yeah, it goes higher. Like, right now, you're exceeding my expectations. Y'all are doing really well with the sentences, when sentences usually, words are hard in math. All right, but y'all are doing really well. So you're exceeding my expectations, which means you're going higher. You're doing better than I expected. All right, so for exceed, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Lyric?
Greater than.
Greater than. So we're pointing to the right. All right, now guys, if you're exceeding it, are you equaling it? Are you meeting it? No, you're going beyond. So we shouldn't have an equal to bar there, because exceed means that you pass it. You don't stop at it, you pass it. You keep going. All right, so here's another one where it started off with our subject, so it's already in the correct order for us. Okay, so W is greater than 45. W is greater than 45. That word exceed, that might be a new word for some of us. So kind of make a mental note. Okay. The minimum temperature is 40 degrees. What are we talking about here, Gabriella?
Minimum temperature.
The temperature. All right. And I'm going to use a T. I'm going to write it in cursive. All right. So we're talking about that temperature. Guys, it's really important here. Minimum is a description. Minimum is a description of that. Okay. So the minimum temperature is 40 degrees. Minimum. What does the word minimum mean? What does the word minimum mean? Brandon? That's the smallest amount. That's the lowest temperature I can have. That's the least temperature I can have. So all of my other temperatures need to be, what's our symbol that we need to use to describe it? Michaela? Greater than. So great, pointing to the right. Minimum means it needs to be greater than, because 40 is the smallest. So my temperature is greater than 40. My temperature is greater than 40. Yes.
Can it be greater than or equal to, because it says the minimum? That's what I thought.
Or equal to. Excellent. Because minimum means it's got to be bigger than that, but can it be that? Yeah, that's the smallest. It can go that low. Can it go lower? No. So it's got to be greater than, or it can be equal to that. Very good call. Make sure we get that equal to bar. Cameron? Next one? Okay. There are at least 24 pictures on the roll of film. What subject do we have here, Cameron? All right, and what is it on the roll of film? The pictures. So we have pictures on the film. So I'm going to use P, because we're really talking about the pictures. We're not really talking about the number of roll of film. We're talking about the pictures. Okay, and y'all probably never used a roll of film, because everything is digital now. Back in the day, you had to get like a disposable camera. You had these rolls of film that you put in your camera, and you wouldn't want to buy a roll of film that only took like 5 pictures, because for one, film could be very expensive. So it's saying there are at least 24 pictures on a roll of film. At least. So I got my pictures. At least 24. All right? At least 24. What does that mean? Less than 24, greater than 24, less than or equal to 24, greater than or equal to 24. What do you think, Sarah Grace? Greater than or equal to 24. Because at least means that that is the smallest. So everything else has to be bigger than or equal to 24. Bigger than or equal to 24. All right, and again, guys, so that was the 4th time we saw at least on this one side. At least is important. All right, minimum, maximum are important. Alright, so guys, the back side, if you flip this over, you'll find some more sentences. This is your homework. You got 12 problems to practice this with and try this on your own for homework. Alright? We got about 10 minutes to start those 12 problems. Well, some of us will be able to get at least halfway done.